So yeah, welcome to our conversation stations. These are informal conversations spotlighting um, peer research and community-led research as part of Community Knowledge Matters, which is our wider network supporting and advocating for more lived experience-led research. We've got really excited to have you here, and we've got the Discovery College, hosted by Centred Highland, joining us today with a few peer researchers. Um, just to set the space a little bit. So our Community Knowledge Matters network has a few values that we want to always keep in mind. So we have focus on equity, inclusivity, collaboration, respect, and integrity. But what that means in practice in terms of this space, of course, we want it to be a respectful conversation. It's all about peers learning. We're all learning here with each other, and obviously really kindly hearing from Centred and the peer researchers about the work that they're doing as well. So very much keeping that in mind. If there's any concerns, please message myself or Natalia, who can give you a wave at the moment, who's co-host and can look after any technical issues. Please do mute yourselves by default. And of course, if you need to step away anytime, do not worry. We are recording the conversation, and so this will be shared online afterwards for those who couldn't make it. But if you prefer not to be in the recording, just turn your camera off, and that's fine. We have got auto captions on. These may or may not be helpful, so feel free to toggle that on or off. We also have a jargon jar. So one of our key network beliefs is understanding if we're bridging between communities, research, practice, policy, language very often is a barrier. And so if there's any terminology that is unfamiliar to you, we have a jargon jar for you to add this secretly. And we'll check on this periodically, and we're building this kind of shared understanding and shared language together. The format is that we'll have probably about half an hour of a spotlight and some conversations and questions with Centred and Discovery College. And then we'll have time for questions towards the end. We also have, if we don't run out of time, a little bit of extra time, the after party, as it were, which starts at 2. So for most people, if you want to leave, you're very welcome to. Appreciate that you've got lots of meetings. But if you want to stay behind and ask further questions, we will keep the room open for another 20 minutes, half an hour. It's a shared space, of course, so just bear that in mind. And as I mentioned, we are recording the conversation. Community Knowledge Matters, this is part of our network activities. We have a community of practice every month as well, which is much more open, just for a chance to share different ideas with peers. And we'll share the dates for that in a second, as well as, of course, an online forum space. So if you want to keep this conversation going, build those connections, we have our community lab space. We're developing resources and news and training with our mailing list, and we are doing much more advocacy and working with other funders, policymakers to try and make the type of work that we're talking about today by Centred and Discovery College much more the norm. So the dates for your diary before I write them down is we have our next community practice on the 25th of February, 2 to 3:30. And if you're interested in finding out a bit more about the network, just in terms of the kind of background, the history, just if you've got any questions, we have our information session as well. So these are designed particularly for those who are new to the network, but if you've got any other questions that you want to chat to the team about, we've got a session on the 20th of March as well, just in terms of keeping it all open. Yeah. If you're not already in the mailing list, here is the QR code, but I'm sure Natalia will put the link there too. But without further ado, we have our conversation station with the Discovery College, which is part of Centred Highland. And today we're going to be hearing about how peer support workers are using their lived experience and skills in peer support work and research to support mental health across the Highlands. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to invite Sarah, Debbie, Jodie, and Noreen onto the digital stage. Good to see you all. Thank you for coming in to this conversation. The first question I'll have for all of you is just to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're based, and what do you do at Discovery College with Centred. I'll start and pick on you, Sarah, first.
Thanks for that, Lewis. Um, I am Sarah Galloway, and I work at the Discovery College in the Eastgate Centre in Inverness, as a peer support worker or an expert by lived experience. Um, we've been toiling with titles for quite a while because to keep things on an even level with the people that we support, it's quite hard to take on a title. Um, I'm passionate about mental health and I'm a mum, and I look forward to see how this goes today.
Amazing to have you here, Sarah. And already some themes about language, which I'm sure we'll pick up. Come to you, Debbie.
Hi, yeah. So I also work in the Discovery College in the Eastgate alongside Sarah. Um, I'm a peer support worker and peer researcher, although I use that term lightly because my idea of research is just sharing everything that's happened in my day-to-day life with the others and letting them pick out of that what is classed as research. I've done this job for a couple of years now. Like Sarah, I'm passionate about mental health support for others, so that hopefully that they can navigate their way a little bit easier than I did.
Thanks, Debbie. That's amazing and great to have you there with that experience. Jodie, over to you.
It's quite enjoying myself there listening to everyone. I'm Jodie, so we're the Caithness branch of the Discovery College. We don't have a physical building at the moment. We hold our sessions in halls and wherever we can book hotels and what have you. So I'm also a support worker. I'm working on two projects, which is the LGBTQI plus community in response to some issues we had up here, and the hearing and sight research. But yeah, my day-to-day is running sessions and being part of sessions, just like everyone else.
Amazing, Debbie and Jodie as well. And then we have Noreen.
Hi everyone, I'm Noreen Grant and I'm the community researcher with the women that have just introduced themselves to you, and one other, Karen, as well, who's not with us today. And I'm home based. I live in Badenoch, but I have spent quite a lot of time at the Eastgate Centre with the others. Observing, but taking part as well, not so much as a peer support worker, but certainly I've been joining in conversations with the people that walk in and just learning from them how things are going. I've also made a trip up to Caithness, just the one so far, but I've got a few more lined up. Of course, I went on the weekend. We had that massive big gale, which was exciting, gave me another day, but it really gave me a great insight into the challenges that there are with working in rural communities, in sparse populations. So that's my role with Discovery College.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Noreen, and thanks for those introductions. I feel like at this point, everyone would give the virtual round of applause if we were in person. So feel free, if you've got the emojis and you're listening in, give this gang a massive bit of support. I should set the context. So this project was funded by the Ideas Fund, and so the idea around this was that it was funding communities to lead research. So communities got the funding directly, and then partnered them with a researcher through this process. And I guess maybe just to set the scene of how the background of this work, Noreen, from your perspective, how has the Discovery College been developing through the lens of peer research?
Yeah, okay, Lewis. Well, as Lewis has just said, my role as community researcher is supported and funded by the Ideas Fund, and the peer support workers slash peer researchers who are here today. Um, and myself, we created a peer research group just over a year ago now. And the peer support workers at the time had already participated in a UHI summer school for research skills and worked with two UHI researchers for several months. I'm in the final year of a part-time PhD with UHI, and my research investigates how inequalities in mental health recovery in rural Highlands and Islands might be tackled. So there's a really good alignment between my research, but also the work that's happening in Discovery College. being done by the peer support workers. But as we all live in different parts of the Highlands, most of our meeting up was and still is done online. And my role is confined to 1 day a week, but sometimes it's 2 days a week, but most often 1 day a week. And the main role of the peers here is peer support work. So rather than our peer research, so our time to work together on peer research projects is quite limited. We've been through quite a year actually in 2024. I'll just run through some of the highlights of that or the main events of that. We had a peer researcher leaving, but two new ones joining the group last year. The Eastgate Community Lounge opened in October. Caithness Discovery College has been stretched to the limit. It just is all the time, and partly that's because of the distances they have to cover up there across a very dispersed population. There's also been major changes in management and in Discovery College, and there's also been prospectus for courses and sessions to co-develop and deliver. So it was eventful to say the least. But as a lived experience and community researcher, it's an absolute privilege for me to participate and witness the mutually supportive practice or approach to peer practice that's nurtured by Discovery College. And I think that's helped us all adapt and thrive and gather insights through each of the new challenges. And I guess just to sum up really in a nutshell, what I've observed about the Discovery College is that it's giving people the social settings, the opportunities and the tools they need to find connection, hope and belonging to support their health and well-being. Peer support is woven through and it's integral to how it works. Built in as well as the foregrounding of the people who walk through the doors at any of the Discovery College venues. It's about their needs, what they want, and meeting them at the level that they're at the time. And that's a real skill that I've witnessed in the peer support workers. So within that framework, what I've seen is that trust grows, deeper conversations develop and connections and sharing lived experience, it just does its thing. People begin to grow and to live and in recovery and have that kind of attitude to life. So just to go over the context really again of DC, it's in Caithness, Inverness, and to a lesser extent though, but still in Lochaber. The Eastgate Lounge has Debbi, Karen and Sarah as peer support workers. And in Caithness, it's Jodie currently. We have Magnus as well, who's currently a relief support worker with us. But in all of those areas, there's a warm welcome. There's space for people to join in with others in the group chats, the sessions, activities, or just find a quiet corner to rest in. It's very flexible, and as I said, it meets people where they are. So when I said earlier that the sharing lived experience does its thing, what I kind of mean by that is that sometimes what happens in these peer-to-peer interactions is more like a bit of magic happening than logic. And so that makes it quite hard to define in a brief overview. And anyway, the peer support workers, peer researchers are far better placed than me to share firsthand in their own way how their lived experience, combined with their skills in the support work and research, are helping to support mental health recovery and develop new ways of thinking about what community research can mean. So I'll hand back to you now, Luz.
Thanks, Lorraine. And I realize, I mean, I think you've touched on it, but actually, I think we've been using Discovery College. I actually wonder if it's even just worth thinking, because it's such a different approach, and obviously it's never been done in Highlands before in this way. Even just a kind of quick, how would you sum up the approach and why it's different from maybe other mental health support, just to set context, and then we've got a video.
Well, if that's coming to me, I would say that we haven't really got any prescribed pathways for people when they arrive. It is all based on the relationship that's built between the peer support workers and those who come in seeking help, support, somewhere to just be. As I've said, I spend more time, or I've been able to spend more time in the Eastgate Centre than up in Caithness, but I know this covers both of them. You know, on any given day, the peer support workers don't know who's coming in. We do have, or they've developed relationships with people that neither are regular folk. They know who's most likely to turn up. But then we'll get different people coming in all of the time. And it might be to pick up a prospectus, it might be come in and ask a question. They might think it's a cafe or somewhere, not just not sure what it is at first, and they come in and have a wee wander about. And one of the peer support workers will be up off their seats, welcoming them, bringing them in, giving them a cup of coffee, sitting them down at the table, and then it just unfolds. And how that person is guided through the various different options that there are for support. It could be signposting, it could be joining one of the classes or sessions, or it could be just sitting and chatting. You know, it really is that flexible. So I think that would be the key thing I would say. There's no need for a referral. People just drop in. They don't have to stay for any particular length of time. Um, they don't have to sign up to anything that they don't want to. They can try lots of things. And there's no, right, we'll see you next week at the same time. There's no appointment basis either. The guys deal with what comes in through the doors when it comes in through the doors. And for me, that I've never witnessed anything like that before. So hope that's okay.
Yeah, it's perfect. I mean, that frames it perfectly. And just acknowledging what Debbie said in the chat as well, it's completely peer-led, which is unique. Yeah, I don't know if Sarah, Debbie, Jody want to quickly come in before we show the video. Does that resound with you, what a Discovery College is? Jody?
I just wanted to say,
Oh,
Lewis,
sorry.
that as far as the research goes, because we've been doing our research training, when we co-developed the Discovery College, we were really, really headstrong in the fact that if you don't want to give us your name, your real name, you don't have to. If you don't want to give us your address, you don't have to. And we have many, many people who don't, which makes research all the harder because you haven't got the basics there. But we're doing it. We're getting there. But I just yeah, so it is completely. They can be completely anonymous when they come into our safe space.
Sure. All right, so Debbie has prepared a video, the video meister, I'm going to call you, which summarizes visually a little bit of the what the Discovery College is. So we're going to share that for a few minutes, and then we're going to come back. But as I said, any questions, please put them in the chat as we go along, and we'll come back with some questions for the peer researchers and Noreen. Oh, amazing. I'm going to stop sharing. There you go. Look at that. Another round of applause. I think that was really powerful. And just seeing all those photos and quotes, and I'm seeing a lot of people nodding, acknowledging that as well. So it just gives a real flavor. So yeah, thank you for that. We'll ask a few questions. I think that really gives us a bit of a kind of reference point. I'm going to first go to you, Debbie. Why do you do the job that you do?
So what I am going to do, if it's okay with everybody, I was asked a year or so ago to write an article for the Scottish Recovery Network. And it pretty much sums up the journey that I've been on, which is the reason why I do what I do. So if I was asked to sum up the phrase peer support in a sentence, it would probably be professional support from someone without a professional qualification. We are taught throughout life to listen to and to trust the professionals. And for the most part, this is good advice. However, I'm sure most of us can recall a time in life when we have been given advice from a professional with no actual life experience of the situation that we are living through. And that is where peer support stands alone. When you talk to someone with lived experience, you know that when they say they understand how you are feeling, that they really truly do. You know that they have also probably lived through and, more importantly, recovered from something very similar. And that knowledge that they have gained through their own lived experience becomes more valuable in aiding someone's recovery than any degree or qualification. Having lived with myself and struggled with mental health issues of varying degrees since the age of 19, I had lost hope of ever feeling different than the way my mental health made me feel. It became the norm for me, and doctors seemed quite happy to just prescribe me with medication. And it wasn't until after I was taken to hospital by ambulance after a suicide attempt in 2019, aged 44, that I started to get the help that I really needed. I finally had a diagnosis of PTSD, borderline personality disorder, and anxiety. And at first, this literally felt like a death sentence to me. But it also gave me my first glimmers of hope through support groups and other people who had similar lived experiences. And these people have become valued friends to me. And whilst I'm well on my way on my own recovery journey, just knowing that they are there for me and that they understand means everything to me. So now, even on the days when I ride my emotional roller coaster, the dips are never as fast or as scary, and they don't take me all the way back to the bottom. So I never have as big a climb to get back to where I need to be. Discovering peer support and graduating as a peer support worker in 2022 is something that my 20-year-old self or even my 30-year-old self would never have believed was possible for someone like me. For so long, I allowed my past to define who I was, and I allowed myself to believe I was too broken to ever be fixed, and that I was too damaged to ever be any good to anyone. Everything in my future felt very dark and negative. But peer support has allowed me to completely change my mindset. Now I see that everything that I have been through and recovered from has made me the person that I am today. My mental health no longer defines me or holds me back. Instead, I am using it to drive me forward, knowing that I am now in a position to use my lived experiences and offer support to someone who might be a few steps behind me on their journey or even too scared yet to start it. If I was to liken it to a race, it wouldn't be the obvious hurdle race or even a long distance race. It would be a three-legged race. You go into it knowing that it might be a little more difficult, and it's going to require some planning and the ability to work alongside someone. But you have the knowledge that there will be somebody by your side the whole time, an arm around your shoulder, encouraging you to get back up no matter how many times you fall down. They want you to cross that finish line, and with their support, it gets closer every step that you take together. We all have struggles and fears in life, and at times a lack of self-belief, but with peer support, we can allow ourselves to have strength, courage, values, determination, and a belief in who we can be collectively. It's about finding our own personal growth and learning to accept who we are whilst being encouraged by other like-minded people who will accept you, support you without discrimination, and help you start your own journey. And you have the comfort of knowing that they once stood in shoes similar to yours.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Debbie. There's a lot of love. Yeah, that's a really powerful piece. That really sets the stage, I think.
If I'd had peer support back in my 20s and 30s, I would have made a lot of different decisions. I think my path would have projected differently. So I value the value of peer support and what I can offer to people through my own lived experience. To me is the reason that I do this.
Thanks, Debbie. Yeah. Yeah, there's not much more to say. That's so powerful to have that, and that drive really makes it very clear. I'm gonna go. I've got a few more questions for the group. We're gonna go to you, Jodie. So fingers crossed your technology is working. But the
Can
next
you hear
question,
me?
we can. Hey, well done, excellent. So what have you noticed about the relationships between people using the Discovery College?
Using the service users. So when we had a manager leave, they had been running a yoga class, and I'm not a yoga instructor. So I had a wee panic because I saw a lot of need in people in different areas and not sure what to do with them. And it was a bit off, it was a bit rushed, but I decided to open a Friendship Friday. And I've often reflected on the Friendship Friday title because does it mean that people feel like, oh, you haven't got any friends, you've got to go to a group? But it's not hindered us, so I'm leaving it, I'm keeping it as it is. So the idea of Friendship Friday is you come in, there's coffee, tea, and fruit and water. And we play board games, we play darts. It then evolved into like having people coming in doing indoor curling and yoga teachers coming in and what have you. But I think the essential thing with the relationship is I just randomly invited people that I'd spoken to in different areas of life, with different needs. And when we came together, it was really it was really a common theme that people had felt rejected by friends or by family or let down by the medical service. They'd all had a significant life event or many life events, and they felt no sense of belonging. And I think that really established a trust and a commitment in the group, and it allowed for more tolerance. If somebody had a personality trait or a behavior that was unpleasant, people were far more tolerant because they'd been rejected and they didn't want to allow anyone else to be rejected. And so, it sort of really bonded the group, and we have new people all the time. And I was recently asked, we had some people coming in to do a session on creativity and care and things. And they said, well, what's your target, in the Friendship Friday? And I said, oh, well, we're from 17 years old to 80. We have all different backgrounds of wealth, all different genders, all different sexualities. In fact, I can't pin you down. Like, we've got commonalities, but I can't pin you down in a group as to who you're speaking to today. You're going to see, there's 17 people that happen to attend on that day. And I can't say that we belong to any religious belief or any, it was just so diverse. And I think the thing with the relationships is, so we had somebody who was attending and they had very strong viewpoint about a certain group in society. They had no experience of spending time with them. They in fact jumped away every time they came near. And it was pitched like they shouldn't be here. And I said, no, come on, when I've been struggling and in my recovery, I've been quite prickly or judgmental or short negative. And actually, the people who gave me the grace and believed that I could develop beyond that once I was feeling safe were the people that I am forever grateful to. So let's be that person. And in fact, one of the people from the community that this person really couldn't abide and was very vocal about, over, I think it was 4 months after attending and seeing that we're all human and we all have needs and what have you, they actually put a crisis call out in a group. And it was the person who had initially really rejected this person that said, come on, I'll take you for breakfast. The message had come out, I can't cope today, I can't go on, I think I'm going to take all my tablets. And that sort of opening up of, they had very definite sort of childhood and culture and it was very sort of singular. And now that we managed to open up, so the group has just flown, and we have new members all the time. They tend to be referred from, anything from people who go to cancer groups. They say try the Friendship Fridays, social services. We've had support workers who are no longer supporting the person attending, has asked if they can still attend. We have extremely wealthy people, and we share advice, and we have started sharing trades. So people are selling each other's craft and promoting each other's business. Home produce. We've had a thing where we sort of set our own, what I want to achieve. And what I want to achieve has gone from, I want to sort my finances, I'm feeling insecure in my personal situation. And somebody else wanted to achieve drinking a glass of water every day because they only drink an energy drink each day. And all are equally valued and all are equally supported. So I get plenty of times when I can step back and go, yeah, this is good. Because a question goes up and everybody used to look at me to answer the question, or when my colleague joined me then, and now they ask a question and other people are interjecting. Oh, did you know that there's this group? Or, oh, I didn't think that was for people who've moved here, I thought it was for local. But no, I'll take you along. And so the work is doing itself, and the amount of times of people have said, I feel like I've got a family now. And my emphasis is, we tolerate, and we keep going. And I've had family members of people who attend who have contacted me and said, life's completely different now. They've got that sense of belonging, which is, major for us. So the relationships are so essential. We've got 5 people who are going on to do their peer support training out of the group. They're very serious about getting into peer support training, but it is the level of support that they provide each other, and the listening as well. They don't have an opportunity anywhere else to speak and be heard, and so that's the relationships. But we have various other groups with lots of sort of similar stories, but yeah.
That's amazing. Thanks, Jodie. No, it's so good to exactly. I'm not gonna lie, you're all making me great. I held it together just about with the video, Debbi, and then and I've got sun cream as well, so that's making it even worse in my eyes. Optimistic otherwise, but no, it's really important to hear that, and it feels particularly at this time when there's so much on social media and so much tension, like just seeing how this approach and those is making such a difference.
We've had, Lewis, we've had people say, like, I've never told anyone, I've lived here sort of 10 years, I've never told anyone, but I have bipolar and I haven't told my family. But they tell this group, and I haven't told anyone, but I lost a baby this time last year. And we said, immediately people said, we'll take you down to the memory tree, we'll come with you, and, sort of stepped in. We had someone who said, oh, I'm bisexual and I've never told anybody. It's a platform where they feel safe and secure to say things that, perhaps they can't say anywhere else, which is just so beautiful.
It really is. You're really not helping, I'm not gonna lie. But that's okay. That's okay. We're I'm a bit wary of time. I want to make sure that we've got a lot of questions that we developed together. And Sarah, so what I might do for your questions, I might combine 2 of them together and give you a bit longer to kind of answer both of them, Sarah. So I guess one part of the question is around building on that kind of what do we need to build relationships meaningfully with peers, but I suppose also about maybe the different needs and wants of different people. Does that feel like a fair way of combining those 2? Try not to make me cry.
No, well, anybody who knows me, it's humor all the way, Lewis. So please don't cry. I think connections, I use humor a lot, but I think we all know, unless you've gone through something, you don't really know. And you can't learn it. You can read about it, but you can't ever feel it. And I think that what we have at the Discovery College is so unique in that 9 times out of 10, when people come in And if they're feeling a certain way or something has happened to them, we can totally relate. And if we can't, we'll probably know somebody in the team who's been through something similar. I first came across peer support due to losing two close family members to suicide. And I went to a suicide support group. And it was magical. As Noreen said, the magic is real. There some weeks was no talking in those groups. Well, talking about suicide. There was talking about great bargains to be had somewhere, and you didn't need to say anything because you knew that everybody knew. You know, that everybody in that room knows exactly how it feels, how hard things are, and hopefully we can be the same. I think along with that has to come honesty. I think we do live in a bit of a world where people pander around things quite a lot instead of saying it's shit, isn't it? You know, it is absolutely shit. But I'm here for you. I know how it feels. And we can do this together. So to make the connections, that is what we try to do. There is absolutely no pressure on anyone who comes in to see us to talk about anything. We have people who come in to read a book. We had somebody in just last week who came in and spent about an hour hysterically crying. She told me she had given me a false name. And she just went and went and went and went for that whole hour. And to be honest, I don't think we'll probably ever see her again. But I think I see it as job done. I think in that day, in that space, she needed a place to go to vent and get it off her chest. But somebody who also shows a genuine interest. Not only is quite a fashionable term now in the mental health places to hear what's happened to you. You'll probably hear that quite a lot. But I think it's really important to ask what's gone on around you. Because there is a trauma response there that so many people have. We just look at the pandemic and, that in itself shows how stuff that's going on around you in the world can impact people's lives. I could probably go on and on and on, Lewis. I have wrote down little bullet points in case I was asked about certain things. But as far as the people coming into the Discovery College are concerned, as I said, there was a woman that told me that she was giving me a false name. We don't ask for names if they don't want to. So doing research in there is quite hard. So I decided to write some question boards that I would just leave on the table, and I would put little balloons in them with a question at the top. Started off by doing, what does hope mean to you? What does connection mean to you? What does belonging mean to you? And then further moved on to what they like about the college. Thankfully, quite a lot of the comments were nothing should change. It should stay the way that it is. But just to try and, when you're talking about trying to do research, we make it very clear to people when they come in that we are nothing to do with the social, the police, the council, so if they have all these issues going on, this is not the place that they're going to come and get questioned about it. So questioning people, I know when I was at my lowest ebb, questions are quite a trigger for me even now, and you've just asked me two at once. But so I understand how triggering that can be for people. So to try and pull research out of people who are naturally, because of their experience, sheltered, don't want to share, it's tough. But I think we are slowly, as we're getting to know the people and making bonds, and we're able to kind of move forward with the with the research stuff, and making it definitely making an impact. I think for us, that's the biggest reward, is that we see people that come in, hide behind a book in the quiet corner, behind shutters, who are now freely coming to the table. Indeed, walking another walk-in's dog one day. Just complete turnarounds. And that's what makes it worthwhile. We can't solve everything, but we can sit beside them and go, yeah, I know, I totally get it. So I hope that answers a little bit of your questions. But again, humor. There's got to be a bit of humor in there somewhere.
No, definitely, sir. I hear you. Yeah, thank you. We've got about 10 minutes left of this formal bit, so there's a few other questions that we prepped, so I want to give a bit of space. What I might suggest is I might actually come to you, Noreen, actually first, and just to kind of there's a question around what research approaches have blended that kind of mix between peer support work, and so that builds a little bit on what Sarah, you were saying in terms of the challenges around that, being both a supporter and researcher, and not being hierarchical, and maybe how it's affected you, Noreen. And then I'm going to come back to yourself, Debbie, and Jodie, just to kind of, what would you like to add, at this point? So don't worry too much about any of the other questions, but just like, what would you want to say in terms of this things from, being inquisitive, being inclusive, or even just personal stories, but just giving you a chance to kind of respond, and some thinking time as well before we finish. And again, Sarah, I'll come back to you at the end, just in terms of, is there anything else you want to add before we close up, that you feel like has been missed? Nope, you're okay. Amazing.
Thanks, Lewis. Thank you. Yeah, well, I've been blown away by listening to Sarah, Jodie, and Debbie, so I'm sure you lot have as well. And when they say, the challenges with research, really, I think that's because there's a bit of a myth around what research is. And what what we're doing and discovering is just sort of changing our perspective on what qualifies as research. And really, you've heard some of the results of observations, reflections, a bit of analysis, even going on, which hasn't been necessarily done in a formal manner. But when we have our peer research group meetings every Monday morning, and those are just between myself and the peer support workers, and everything is on the table. We talk about everything. We talk about our personal lives. We talk about stuff that has happened, stuff that we need to get off our chests. And we also talk about things that have happened in the course of their daily work. And out of those conversations, we've created a way of recording what things are important, and of finding themes through that, and of seeing the things that are really evolving and that are really opening doors for the people that come into the peer support space, looking for help, support, comfort, whatever it might be. And as Sarah, well, all of them have articulated really well, we don't predict, and there isn't a prescribed path forward. So it's very much about learning about that individual and allowing them to become comfortable in their own way. Sarah uses humor, but Sarah also uses she'll knit or she'll crochet, and there's always games on the table, there's always cards and things to doodle on. And these have proven to be really good conversation
Food,
starters.
Noreen, sorry to
Oh, yes,
interrupt. Food.
Yes, there's that as well. So again, with like the informality of this forum that you provided for us here, Lewis, it's very, very informal. And Sarah, for example, will maybe relate a story to all of us on the Monday morning as we're kind of going through things. We don't record them, but I take notes down, and then I might question a little bit more about particular aspects of that. So basically, it's the easier way that's been it's been working is through observation and listening. That's what the peer support workers are doing. They're naturally doing that anyway as a way of supporting. But when they reflect on that and when they feed that back to me and the others in the group, we can see that we are learning. And that means that's research, because that's the purpose of research, is to learn and to grow and understand things a little bit more deeply. How we then use that is still that's still in progress. We've used some of the research in what we've been telling you today, but we're building towards working on a digital newsletter. We've been discussing doing a podcast, which when I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago when I was in the Eastgate Discovery College, the peer walk-ins, as we call them, there was 2 or 3 of them were really keen on that idea. Now the great thing, I've never done one. Sarah's taken part in one, I know that, but I don't think anybody else has done one. So the idea will be that we all learn together and we all create it together, and then we'll do a reflective bit of research on what that felt like and what came out of it, what themes came out of it. I've also, well, yeah, I've also done a few, 3, 4, maybe informal interviews with the peer walk-ins at Eastgate who have who've become regulars. That's the word that we'll use for them. And I just did a little quiet chat, one-to-one chat with them, told them what my role was, asked them would they be interested in doing some a wee informal interview with me. I explained it could be kept completely anonymous. It didn't need to be recorded, all of those things. And 4 of them were very happy to do so. So from that initial conversation, I just built up 3 or 4 more in-depth questions, and we sat and went through those, and all of them refused the option of anonymity. They all want their names on it. They all want to be known that it was them that said it. And for me, that it shows that really the participation of the peer walk-ins in the research, because it's structured as a development of the Discovery College, we will use this information to progress what we're doing there, and they want to be part of that. And again, that just shows the power of lived experience as the peer support workers are using it to help people build confidence, and for them to feel empowered. And just a very quick funny story, one of those that I interviewed turned the tables on me and, had me kind of sitting back down because they had spotted that I was perhaps feeling a little bit vulnerable in the space that day. And part of that came because I was very aware that one of the things we don't want to do is be asking names, making forms, writing things down of people. But with their permission, it's perfectly fine. It's very much a kind of suck it and see. That will work for some, it won't work for others. But I'm really excited about working over this next year now with the guys, and developing it more. So hopefully that's covered everything.
Thanks, Maureen. I'm very aware that's coming to 2. So what I might suggest is we'll probably use a little bit of the spillover time to come back to Debbie and Jodie. But just acknowledging for those, some people have already had to go, but there's a massive outpouring of appreciation for sharing your experiences already at this point. So yeah, a massive thank you. For those of you who do have to step away, thank you for joining us, and do listen into the rest of the conversation afterwards as well. Hopefully we'll keep this going. I'm just going to quickly talking about going with the flow. We do have a little check-in. So for those of you who do have to go, the little poll just to get a sense of has it been useful. Ideas for next time would be really lovely. But yeah, thank you very much. And then I'm going to come back to Debbie, I think. That's all right. Debbie, like, you've heard everything so far. We've gone off piste. What would you want to share at this point?
So I think for me, I know you touched on the kind of inclusivity, and I think, like I said earlier, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and I've attended support groups for people with borderline personality, and that is great. But I think there you're kind of limited when it's exclusive. And I think the thing that I love about the Discovery College being so inclusive is that the fact that anybody is welcome, whether you have a diagnosis or whether you don't need a referral. We try to make sure that the space that we have is really suitable for everybody. We redesigned the lounge recently to make it more accessible, because we've got quite a few people that come in a wheelchair. We have a quiet room, a sensory room, which we're developing. We took the big lights out of that and we just have a lamp on in there. So it's a really kind of quiet, calming space. It's nice to see as well, we have quite a lot of neurodiverse people attending and integrating so well and so naturally with other people at the table, forming discussions. And you see everybody literally building tolerances, like what we talked about, and learning and growing and just becoming so much more acceptant of people. And that's what we are at the end of the day. We're people, you know. It's just a really nice, safe space for people. They can come in, and like what we were saying, there's no time schedule. You can come in 1 week and then not come in for 3 weeks and then pop back again. You can come in for an hour one day, or you can come in and sit for most of the day if that's what you need. There's no time limits, there's no schedule. And I think that is really important to people, that it is, although we're not open 5 days a week, but they do have that flexibility of how often they attend and for how long. We have people that come in that struggle with their communication. That could be because of a language barrier. That could also be through a disability. And, we work around that, whether it's a translation app that we will use so that we can still communicate and help, whether it's a letters board, so that people can spell out words and the likes for us. We really will go out of our way to just make sure that we are as inclusive as we can be. If somebody's struggling with their anxiety and they want to attend but don't have that confidence, we will offer to meet them beforehand. We will meet them at the car park or off a bus if need be, and start to build up the relationship with them before they've even got through the doors, if that's what they need. Yeah, I could go on and on and on and on and on. The love that I have for what I do and the passion, and I want to shout it from the rooftops that it's just so unique what we are doing and the way we are doing it. And, I talk about it being peer-led. I don't just mean us as peers. I mean the people that come in as well. We refer to them as our peer walk-ins. It's as much about what they want, what they need, what they see the future, in the direction that we go in as well. It's just as important. Yeah.
That passion's really coming through. Jodie, you're jumping right in there.
Oh, Debs, I've got to add to that is I'm having an absolute blast and I'm waiting to get caught out because with like the LGBTQI plus community, I realised through lots of conversations, the common theme is that they don't have any idea of a sense of history, and they are just saying, no, I'll wait till I'm old enough to move away. I can't tell my family, I can't be out. So then I was like, how about a book club where we learn about gay icons and see what they've done in, the past in popular history. We have a bit of singing, we have a bit of makeup, and then I can ring have a conversation with Highland Pride. I can speak to Stepping Out, which is an under sort of a younger age group that they support the LGBT community. And nobody's stopping me. So I keep going. So I just booked a minibus and came down to Eden Court to one of the events there by LGBT Youth Scotland, and we sang all the way down in the bus. We learnt about protests, we did workshops, we had a blooming good blast and laughed all the way up. No one's telling me off for this. And that's my research though. Oh look, you don't understand what's gone before you, what's possible, what people have been through, whose shoulders you're standing on. Let's learn your history to give you a bit of confidence going forward, because we're in a similar situation here. And yeah, as in terms of research, it's a conversation. I come up with a mad idea, people join me, people collaborate, and I get funding for it. It's brilliant. Don't let it stop. That's my idea on it.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. And I think maybe maybe to go either yeah, Sarah or Noreen, is there any other kind of reflections that you want to offer at this point? And then I think we've got some questions in the chat.
I
Sarah?
have a tiny reflection.
You
Sorry,
go,
Noreen.
Sarah. No, no, go.
Just taking it back to the research in that I live and I've grown up, I've never moved from the tiny community that I live in. And I've worked in various pubs and bars and shops in this town. And research is going on all day, every day. Every single one of my bosses that have been in a local community shop are the best researchers. They can tell you who's getting an extension, how much they paid for their house, who this is, who's, that is. They don't take notes. They're constantly kind of researching, I suppose, Um, and I suppose it would be nice if we were able to kind of take a bit of that over into the Discovery College, because the traditional ways aren't going to work for us all the time. I think we just need to turn into a bit more rural shopkeepers.
In a sense, that is what's happening. That's the way I feel, Sarah, when I listen to you all on a Monday morning, because there's insights, as well as sort of factual stuff about where people live or what happened. I mean, there was one story about somebody on the weekend of Storm Eowyn, um, whose train was going to be cancelled, but it was difficult to explain that, or for them to understand, because they had their ticket to get home. So the train should be running. And so it's insights like that can cause a major upset for an individual. And what would they have done if there wasn't the Discovery College? And as it turns out, if I'm right, Sarah, there was another peer supported them to the train station to get the train at the right time so that they could get home safely. Um, and yeah, I'm shaking my head, because that's really how I feel sometimes when I hear these stories about the impact that these seemingly small things but make major difference to individuals' lives. And similarly, with me, my lived experience, I'm living in recovery from alcoholism. I've also had mental health issues, etc. And doing the research work with UHI that I've been doing. So when I joined Discovery College, it was me having to sort of change my views on what research was as well, and just break out that box, start knocking down some walls and learning from the guys about what would actually work in that space. We've talked through, ethics, and the other thing that we talked about a lot in the beginning was each of our strengths and weaknesses and preferences about what we would do. Um, and Sarah's talked about her personality and using humor and being at the table and working with people all the time, which Debbie and Jodie also do. And so she gathers information that way without even really knowing it. Debbie's strengths are in the things like doing the videos, compiling things, pulling things together. She also has a real capacity for logistics and numbers, so that will probably be something that we focus on for Debbie coming forward to the next year. And Jodie's on it as far as human rights and ethics are concerned. So I just sit and take notes and transfer, and I suppose really to my back, or what I'm becoming. I'm not there yet, but I'm becoming an ethnographic researcher. That's definitely where I lean to. So being immersed in the culture that is Discovery College and alongside the peers, I've kind of got an insider outsider perspective. So when it comes to report writing and things like that, I'll do the main draft, and then I get fed back from the others, and the final product will be something that all of us have worked on together. So yeah, it's brilliant.
Amazing. We'll end my part of the interviewing part at this point, because I feel like that's a beautiful place to end this bit. But I guess, as we have gone over a little bit, there's a question in the chat, but also if there's any other questions from anyone who's listening at the moment, we'll do a bit of facilitating. Shannon was asking in the chat if I was curious if you share any of your training. I may have misheard, but I thought I caught something about peer researcher training. I don't know who wants to jump in about that.
Yeah, I can jump in and start that one off. So all of the peer support workers have formally done peer-to-peer training. It was over, I think it was 8 weeks we did it. And I suppose that formed the basis for us of just making sure that I think it's more about being clear on boundaries and language and all those kind of things that for most of us, I suppose, does come quite naturally. But we've extended that now, and what is so great about what we have done is the fact that the people that are using the lounge now as a peer support worker, as a peer walk-in, sorry, are wanting to do that training. Like Jodie had said, there's about 5 people up in Caithness, and we've had a few people in Inverness as well that have gone forward and participated in that training through the Scottish Recovery Network framework. And they're now coming into as a user, if you like, as a service user, and now going on to possibly become a peer support worker as well. And there's opportunities within Discovery College for that to come into a volunteer role for them, or to even progress onto paid employment.
Yeah. Yeah, just to say, like, there's people who are starting up charities and initiatives who want to do the training. So the one we're running at the moment, I think there's 12 people on it, but there's a waiting list for, people who couldn't do it at this point, but want to go on to do it. So it's such a diverse range of people who want to do it, and then our own homegrown ones, which we've got in there too. So it's a really good it's really good preparation for what you're about to sort of embark in, go forward and do. Yeah,
and I guess that you would just get in touch with Discovery College, possibly Sue Lyons, to get a bit more information about getting people signed up to come and get the training. Yeah.
Amazing. Any other questions from anyone else on the call?
Yeah,
Liz?
can I go? Hi, Jodie. I was wanting to ask you, you were talking about your Friday Friendships group, and you're clearly really proud, quite rightly so, of that group and what it is. And it just occurred to me that as part of kind of the sort of the research hat on, actually taking some time to stop and reflect about what it is that you've done that's made that group so special, and because it sounds to me like something that could benefit from just trying to know why, so that it could potentially you could replicate it. I mean, I know you can't quite replicate anything like that quite the same way, but understanding those ingredients a little bit and sharing that.
Yeah, I think that our Monday groups are really essential for that, because I get to tell everybody what, especially, so we have another relief support worker that I work with who came in later, and sort of, so especially being on my own, a lot of the time, quite a majority, not a majority, some of the time I've been on my own, so I can get there Monday and say, this upset me, I don't think I did this right, this was brilliant, oh my gosh, listen to this. And everybody listens, supports, looks after me, gives me suggestions. Sorry, my cat's just joined the call. Yeah, so that's the area. And then because we do a range of things, it's Noreen who takes the notes and sort of records it as research, because I don't think I have the capacity at the moment, until we build the workforce up here. I don't have the capacity, so it's Noreen who keeps track of everything and sort of reflects, and sometimes when I, sometimes I can feel a bit dispirited and someone will say, "Oh, look at how far everyone's come." And then it's like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go again. So that is so essential to have that once a week. I think if it was once a fortnight, it wouldn't be enough. It's once a week. We need that. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, and Liz, I think it's a really good question, and it really makes me feel like that's starting to unpick some of these ideas of like what's the role of that kind of research in the sense of that very informal but also structured reflective practice that you have to support your peer support. And I wonder actually, actually without that, would it be, it's always something that we intend to do, right? Reflect, have time to space and support. But by bringing it into research, does that give you that kind of additional like rationale to be like, oh, we have to protect this time? And actually that's what is enabling you to do the rest of your work more effectively. I don't know, I'm just literally thinking out loud, but to me, it's just like maybe helps a little bit answer that question of what is that role of peer research for a peer supporter. I guess maybe just to finish, I know a lot of people have to start heading off. Oh, so we got a comment, and I always thought research as being academic. I'm just learning how grassroots it can be, which I think is really,
Making it grassroots, Debbie.
yeah, it's just making
You
it.
know,
Yeah.
that's the thing, is just taking it and turning it right round on its head, really. And I know, I suppose one of the things that worried me at first was the sort of ethical side of things, the GDPR, getting people's names and making sure they were fully informed about what we were going to be doing and what we might do with the words that they'd spoken. But it's turned out that those things can even, they can be done retrospectively, even. I mean, they're always asked, they're always made aware. And if we take notes or if I produce anything, even the quotes that we had for the video there, they were written up and then, discussed between us and made sure that this was exactly what the person said and that they had given permission for them to be used in this forum. Then that's it. That's research. And I think in a lot of ways, certainly specific to Highland and the peer research network, because it's not just us doing peer support work and peer research. Obviously, there's lots of others, and there's plans for collaboration during 3 different events in this coming year, where we'll hopefully be working with people from other organisations who are peer support workers. And not trying to formalize what research means, but just trying to do that whole thing of breaking down the barriers. That, I mean, the research with the posters that you do, Sarah, on the tables, perfect. Stick them out there. People write down when they want to write down, they write down what they want to write down. And then if we're going to use that in any public forum, we just ask for permission. Simple as that.
Amazing. And you've already preempted a little bit. My last question to round off is what next? Just to kind of, how do people contact you? What are you hoping to see happen next? I'll leave that as an open question. Anyone want to jump in? Jodie?
I would like a holiday.
Just after this call.
Peer supporters everywhere, I say. I was even when I think peer support 24 hours a day, I swear. When I was driving into work one day, my daughter was really poorly as a little child, and to be able to go into that kitchen in the children's ward where there's another mum who knows how it is, what you're going through, has been there, done it, knows, just peer supporters everywhere.
Love it. How about you, Debbie, Noreen?
Yeah, I think just really, I agree with all those sentiments. But the other thing that I think that there is a need for is recognition of the value of peer support work, but also recognition of the emotional, say, cost. But I don't know, I might get kicked back from the guys about whether it's actually a cost or not. But I believe so. I believe so. And I think that the depth with which the guys go into building a relationship with the people that come in looking for support, while it's happening, they maybe don't feel like it's taking or it's giving an emotional load, but it is. And that will hang on or hang around sometimes. And I think that's necessary. I think that's part of what makes it so special, peer support work. But I also think that it needs acknowledged, and things like what we do on a Monday morning, especially. And I think every day after work, there's a bit of a decompression session, and check-ins all the time about the well-being of the peer support workers, because when we're in it, we all know, we probably all of us that are left here know that when you're helping somebody with something that's really challenging, you're maybe not taking it fully on board as your problem, but there's a part of it. It's like a kind of cloak around you, and that's caring. That's empathy. That's what that is. Um, but that also needs to have a way of leaving us so that we don't carry it around. And I think that's something I'd like to explore more with the guys here, but with other peer support workers in Highland. Because again, the rural nature of, yeah, you can be stuck at home isolated. Jodie's just talked about that. So it's
I
about
think
how we support that.
professionally, I really want to, in my head, I've got a map of the Highlands, and I want the Highlands to mean the Highlands, not just Wick, Thurso, Inverness, Goldsby, the larger towns. And I want to be able to put a flag everywhere that we have been and reached out. That's my professional goal. Yeah.
No, the holiday's well deserved for sure. And for you, Debbie. Oh, you want me?
Yeah, I just want to follow on with what Noreen was saying there and just give a wee example that, last week I had quite a testing day. I had a lot going on in work, with two people expressing suicidal thoughts, somebody that had a bereavement of a younger relative. And normally, like what Noreen says, at the end of a working day, we will debrief around the table. Staffing and one thing and another meant that it couldn't happen for me there and then. But I knew I still needed that debrief. Like Noreen said, there is so many emotions that at the end of the day, when you actually stop, you don't realize how much they're building up until you stop. And it's like the shutter goes down and it's like, oh. And I at times I thought, do I need that debrief at the end of a session? It's like, oh, I just want to get home, Do I want to sit here for another half an hour talking about it all again? But by not getting that, it just reiterated to me just how important that debriefs are. I had to reach out online to the group at the end of that day just to say, guys, who's there? I need a check-in with somebody. I need to offload a little bit of this. So yeah, very, very important that we can do that.
Thanks, Debbie. It feels, so important, and yeah, I'm glad you've built and learned around that and structured that in informally or otherwise, and definitely sounds like the good area of inquiry and to build on for the future. So I think at this point we'll round up. We say a massive thank you, Noreen, Jodie, Debbie, and Sarah. It's been a marathon of insight, really, from the videos, from all the writings and questions. So yeah, I want to say a massive thank you, and certainly for me, yeah, it's appreciating the kind of just authenticity of it, I guess, just and the emotion of it. I definitely felt it. So thank you so much for sharing. It's very much felt by everyone, and obviously for those watching from the recording, for them to hopefully feed in, ask questions, get in touch as well. Yeah, so thank you very much. I'll stop the recording, and yeah, we'll call it a day.
Yay.